Hi, Spiritual Chuck here. In my last video last night, I was talking about John being baptized in the water and Jesus being baptized in the plasma. But I mean, we can say Jesus was baptized in the blood, and the blood is 55% plasma. Okay? So I just wanted to kind of clarify that. And then I'm reading out of this Bible right here. The Gnostic Bible by Barnstone and Myers. The Gnostic Bible. And one of the things it says John the Baptizer was not the light, meaning that Jesus was the light, and John merely the lamp carrying the light. So John's role is defined as prophetic, but secondary to that of Jesus, who is the divine. Now, all this suggests intense rivalry between early followers of the Messiah and stuff like that. So that's just wanted to clarify that. There was something here that I wanted to read that I had read in another video, and that I'd had on my the wall of my greenhouse. And it's such a beautiful statement. But what I wanted to show you was how many times that water is mentioned in this book. It's just incredible how many times they talk about the water. And if you read this Bible, which I highly recommend you do, they found it in 1949 in Nag Hammadi, Egypt, and it didn't come out until in the 80s. You know, it's like they held on to it and they did a lot of work, you know, before they let it out. So I don't know what all that means, you know, but there's some things here that are really interesting. And one of them is right here. Let me see. Right here. This is in, what is this chapter? The Treatise on Resurrection. And it says, "Drink deeply from the living fountain of the Lord. It is yours. Come all who are thirsty and drink, and rest by the fountain of the Lord. How beautiful and pure, it eases the soul. That water is sweeter than honey. The combs of bees are nothing beside it. It flows from the lips of the Lord. Its name is from the Lord's heart. It is invisible but has no borders, and was unknown until it was set in our midst. They who drink are blessed and are eased. Its name is from the Lord's heart," right? In India they call it Shiva-M-B-U. Shiva-M-B-U. Shiva-M-B-U, right? And then there's this guy that comes out in the news named Shiva-M-B-U. So when you research Shiva-M-B-U now, you're going to get this guy that's in the news instead of the ancient practice of Shiva-M-B-U from India. And it's really not as ancient as you think. It's only like 1,000 or 2 years old. It's surprisingly young, considering. And then if you do a little more research, and we're going to get a little wild here, on the mud floods and on the giants and the Tartarian buildings, and what existed here before the great mud flood. And then after the mud flood, everything changed. And I remember seeing in 1893 World's Fair that there were these people walking around with black suits on, and they were showing off incubators. And it was just a ton of incubators, and they were making babies. You know, like they were going out of style, like they were making small people, you know. And so to repopulate the planet, you know, it's like, okay, I know you're tripping, you think I'm tripping. I've done a tremendous amount of research on this stuff, and it took me a long time to do it because it's like hard to find this stuff. And a lot of the stuff I saved, and I have it on another SD card and this and that, and there's just a certain amount of trust that you're going to have in me. But here's another really questionable part of this Bible here that just really makes me wonder. This is also the Bible that talked about one statement that I'd talked about before, and that was that there were 3 ships sailing, and one was full, one was half full, and one was empty. And when they got to the port, they tore the empty one apart. And I'm going to suggest that what they were full of was plasma or light. Okay? But in any case, I think I've already said that in another video. I repeat myself because it's like, okay, let me find the name of this chapter here in this book. Gee whiz. Into the water. It was necessary for Jesus to descend into the water so that he could perfect and consecrate it. So also they had received baptism in his name may be perfect. He said, it is right in this way to perfect all that is just. I can't find living water. The living water is a body. We must put on the living human. When you go into the water, you strip naked and put on the living human. And I, Shem, awoke as if from deep sleep. I marveled when I received the power of the light and his whole thought. I proceeded with faith to shine, and I proceeded with faith to shine with me. And the righteous one followed us with my invincible garment. And all that he had told me would happen upon the earth happened. Nature was handed over to faith, that faith might overturn her, and that nature might stand in the darkness. She produced a turning motion while wandering night and day, not getting rest with the souls. These things completed her deeds. I had talked about the real shape of the earth, that possibly it looked a lot like a galaxy, and that this was the mother, and that this was the father, and that there's an invisible light or invisible force in the middle of this motion. And they're talking about it. They're talking about it. And it's her, it's her. She's all things, okay? And he's no thing, right? He's pure consciousness and she's finite consciousness. Even the Indians say that there's a dramatic difference between men and women. And that's not really spoke of a lot, but if you think of it in that sense, it's a tremendous difference. And so here's a little, this is called The Origin of the Illuminator. It happens to be on page 205 in this book. And then the angels with all the generation of powers will use the name in error, asking, where did this come from? Where did this light come from? Or where did the words of deception, which all the powers have failed to realize, come from? Now, the first kingdom says of the illuminator that he came from a spirit to heaven. He was nourished in the heavens. He received the glory that the one and the power, and he came to the bosom of his mother, and in this way he came to the water. And the second kingdom says of him that he came from a great prophet. And a bird came and took the child who was born and brought him onto a high mountain, and he was nourished by the bird of heaven. And an angel came forth there, and he said to him, rise, God has given you glory. He received glory and strength, and in this way he came to the water. That sounds like an American Indian analogy of the second kingdom. The third kingdom says of him that he came from a virgin womb. He was cast out of his city, he and his mother. He was brought to a desert place. He was nourished there. He came and received glory and power, and in this way he came to the water. The fourth kingdom says of him that he came from a virgin. Solomon sought her. He in Pharsalo and Saul and his armies, which had been sent out. Solomon himself sent his army of demons to seek out the virgin, and they did not find the one whom they sought, but the virgin who was given to them. It was she whom they fetched. Solomon took her. The virgin became pregnant and gave birth to the child there. She nourished him on a border of the desert, where he was nourished. He received glory and power from the seed from which he was conceived, and in this way he came to the water. In the fifth kingdom, says of him that he came from a drop from heaven. He was thrown into the sea. The abyss received him, gave birth to him, and brought him to heaven. He received glory and power, and in this way came to the water. And the sixth kingdom says that one came down to the realm that is below in order to gather flowers. She became pregnant from the desire of the flowers. She gave birth to him in that place. The angels of the flower garden nourished him. He received glory and power there, and in this way he came to the water. And the seventh kingdom, he came to the water. Eighth kingdom came to the water. Ninth kingdom came to the water. 10th kingdom came to the water. 11th kingdom came to the water. 12th kingdom and the 13th kingdom came to the water. But the generation without a king says that God chose him from all the eternal realms. He caused knowledge of the one truth, who is undefiled, to reside in him. He said, out of a foreign air, from a huge eternal realm, the great illuminator appeared. And he made the generation of those people whom he had chosen for himself shine, so that they should shine on the whole eternal realm. Wow. And people acknowledge their error, about it. It's crazy. Unbelievable. Secret book of John talks all about the water. Talks all about the living water. It says, now this Father is the one who beholds himself in the light surrounding him, which is the spring of living water, and provides all the realms. He reflects on his image everywhere, sees it in the spring of the Spirit, and becomes enamored of his luminous water. Luminous water. For his image is the spring of pure luminous water surrounding him. Shiva-M-B-U, urine therapy, plasma, light of consciousness. It's a lot more than we think it is, folks. If you eat peaches, it tastes like peaches. If you eat honey, it tastes like honey. It's not what we think it is. It's the greatest thing that's ever happened to me in my life. I'm walking down the road 10 to 15 miles a day at 60 years old almost. It's just incredible. And I'm telling everybody I can. And I don't know how long this is going to last, but hopefully it's down and we've got it on record here. I almost lost my phone today. It's just one of these things, it's like there's a lot of distraction out here. There's a lot of challenges. There's a lot going on, and it's really difficult sometimes to just sit down and be, But I'm doing a pretty good job. I got some good sleep last night. I made sure I checked my RF meter to make sure I had no rads coming in, and I slept pretty good last night under a bridge by the water. Took some beautiful photographs, sent them to all my loved ones, and I made one last video at about midnight, and my phone died and I went to bed. All right, so peace, peace, peace. Please stay in the water. Go in the water and stay in the water. Start with distilled water, because your water right now, it's going to be rough. If you're eating cooked foods and inorganic matter, you got to get that out, and then you'll clear up, and it's going to be wonderful. Believe me. These are all three necessary ingredients for your holiness. That's why there's 3 topics here. These are the 3 topics that you need to know about in today's life. All right? Ciao. Hopefully it's organic chow, like fruits and veggies. I'm gonna go fly a sign for right here. Here's my sign. You want to see it? I think I've showed it before. There it is. Spare fruit and distilled water. That's what we're talking about. That's right what I'm talking about. Later.